Well, Hag Samayach, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I wanted to do a video answering some questions that were posted in the comments section underneath a video I did talking about the 7 Noahide laws. Now, I thought these questions were very good. They're questions I think a lot of people have, and I thought I would just go through and systematically do the best I can to answer them. And hopefully along the way, we'll get a little bit more of an insight as to how the sort of playing field really looks. And I hope that expression will make sense as we go along in the video. So the questions that I was asked were asked by David Barnes. So David, this video is essentially for you, my friend, and I hope other people will get something out of it. Now, in his comment, he wrote, what is your take on the following scenarios? Number one, should a born Jew who was secular and now believes in Yeshua take on Orthodox Judaism and keep his beliefs secret? Now, that is a pretty good question. But what that question doesn't realize is that it unlocks a whole host of other variables that are almost infinite. Firstly, when one says they believe in Yeshua, that could mean anything. That could literally mean anything. It could mean not only what they believe their particular understanding of Yeshua's mission was, who he was and how he really lived and what he really thought about things, all the way down to believing some fairly outlandish things about the Messiah that's held by a multitude of different groups of Christianity. And on top of all that, there's the old faithful. Well, who does he believe Yeshua is? Does he believe he is a God? Does he believe he is a fully human being? Does he believe he is part God, part man? Does he believe he's God on Tuesdays and man on Sundays? You know what I mean. So it's a hugely loaded question because it really boils down to what that person actually believes about who Yeshua was. And there is very scant information about who he truly was. And on top of all that, there is a very dominant religion, one of the Abrahamic religions, I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about, that has done a really masterful job to do anything and everything to change and subvert, that's a popular word now, but pretty much damage and ruin just about every sort of essential feature of who this individual really was. So when somebody says, if they've embraced Yeshua, okay, firstly, if they say Yeshua rather than Jesus, that's, somewhat of a good sign, but it could absolutely, literally mean anything, absolutely anything. Now, in terms of taking on Orthodox Judaism, absolutely. If the person was a native Jew, they were born Jewish, they have a Jewish mother, they should definitely look at entering into a ultra-Orthodox Jewish community if they can. Chabad are very good in terms of their kiruv, their outreach, but there are plenty of other groups out there. The Breslovs are really good, and they take in a lot of hard cases, at least that's what it sort of seems, and they're a very bubbly, joyous sect of Judaism. So yeah, absolutely, I would recommend wholehearted. In fact, there's really no other option for somebody who is a secular Jew who's thinking about Torah observance and becoming Torah observant to head towards one of these communities. Don't go to a Reform community. And of course, if they have some sort of notion of Yeshua, definitely by all means steer clear of any type of Messianic community or Hebrew roots community or Christian community, anything like that. And certainly Christian communities are forbidden. We're forbidden to go into their places of worship. Even a Noahide is forbidden to go into a Christian place of worship because of the idolatry. So in terms of, and keep his belief in secret, I wouldn't recommend keeping anything secret before a Beit Din, a house of judgment, because even a natural born Jew has to undergo somewhat of a conversion process after he has walked or lived somewhat of a secular life, because technically speaking, his Judaism is on suspension because of the sins and transgressions and the failure to observe Shabbat. It's essentially, spiritually speaking, he's not really a Jew in that state. So there will be some sort of conversion process that will be required for him to be legitimate. And like I said, do not keep any secrets. But having said that, you don't want to over disclose anything these people are God-fearing people, if it's a kosher Beit Din, and they're not going to go to the point where the person feels like they're sort of being hazed or humiliated or something like that. But certainly don't go in with the notion that you're going to keep anything from them. You'll only void your conversion, and it's just a waste of your time and a waste of theirs, and it'll just be sin piled upon sin. So, if you have some sort of correct notion of Yeshua, you can just simply sit somewhere by yourself and say, you know what, it sounds legitimate, but the jury's out. I'm not sure where I stand, but I know one thing, that to truly have a belief in anything, one has to actually act that belief out. And so really nobody who expresses faith in Yeshua as the Messiah, that doesn't keep the Torah in its most complete form in their capacity, whether they're a male, a female, an Orthodox Jew, or a observant male Jew, or a Noahide, then it has, their professed belief in Yeshua does absolutely nothing for them. A serial killer or pedophile can believe in the Messiah. We've got to understand that the actual concept of Mashiach is a title given to a finite event that will have a beginning, a time when it's being acted out, which is pretty much now, and a conclusion. And so after the rescue, the Mashiach will go by a different name. So I hope that sufficiently answers your first question, David. Okay, so let's look at question number 2. Should a convert to Judaism who decided years later, after living a committed Jewish life, that he believes in Yeshua, remain Orthodox but keep their belief secret? Well, that's really good that he said remain Orthodox, because there's really no other alternative to that. I would then sort of have to say on the back of this question, how is he getting his information? Somebody who is a committed Orthodox Jew isn't spending much time on social media, if any at all, or on the internet, like at all, really, and doesn't really engage with people, especially missionaries. There is stringencies against engaging with missionaries. So I would have to wonder, who's this individual rubbing shoulders with? And I would certainly not begin to keep something secret, because normally if it's something that's sort of like that's bubbling away, it's like turning on a hose and sort of blocking off the actual hose, and eventually it's going to burst somewhere else. So I would simply throw yourself into your learning and your obedience to Torah, because no matter who you are, what you believe, it's really down to your fear of heaven and your observance of the Torah in the capacity that you are able to comprehend it and walk it out. That's going to be the real litmus test to whether things work out for you or not. Simply having an intellectual belief or drawing in an overarching concept into what you already are observing really shouldn't have any impact on that at all. And if it does have any sort of significant impact, causing you to maybe stop eating kosher food, then your understanding of that is actually wrong. And the best thing to do is to just drop it altogether. So I hope I've answered that one, which was, should a convert to Judaism who decided years later, after living a committed Jewish life that believes in Yeshua, remain Orthodox but keep their belief secret? Notice also in the question he says, should a convert to Judaism who decided years later, after living a committed committed Jewish life? Notice that in the question. Should a convert to Judaism who decided years later, after living a committed Jewish life? As if to say that there's some other life that is availed to you, that is like not living a committed Jewish life. So that's interesting there. And I'm sure that wasn't David's intention as he was drafting that question. But as we write, our subconscious sort of gives us away. And so there's sort of a posturing there that, maybe there's some other way to live apart from obeying Torah, living out the Torah, which isn't the case. Okay, so he's concluded with another question, but also sort of a wrap up, sort of a closing statement. But it does sort of ask a question, and it says, You appear to respect Orthodox Judaism and rightly tell believing non-Jews not to convert or proselytize. But you don't address the biggest problem, those Jews who are caught up in Christianity or Messianic Judaism and are therefore not observing the Torah in the manner they are obligated to. How much do you care about their observance? Well, the answer is I care a lot about their observance, so much so that any chance that I get, I tell Messianics and Jews not to go anywhere near them. You'll only have to look at a couple of my other videos to see that. But any Jew that is wrapped up in Christianity or Messianic Judaism, that's going to sort of really need some sort of something on par of surgery to get that removed out of them. And I would encourage them to leave those communities as soon as possible and make contact with an Orthodox Jewish community and get some help. Now, I'm not saying that these communities are evil or, nefarious or anything like that. Sorry about the dog. I'm just saying that they just don't have the runs on the board in terms of their observance and their fear of heaven. These communities, majority of them, they're less observant than Reformed Judaism. And I would never encourage a person to go anywhere near a Reformed Jewish environment. And these communities are even less observant than that. You're going to experience extreme levels of immodesty in these environments. There's no segregation of men and women. They'll go and have a mikveh at a beach, for example. And most, if not all, are driving on Shabbat. And so, it's really, in a spiritual sense, spending time with mass murderers. So I hope that answers your questions. I know that these answers to these questions are extremely left field and probably not what you thought you would get. But I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the emet. And it's up to you where you take it from here. And thank you so much for the questions. I love answering questions. Keep them coming. And again, I'm sorry about the dog. All right. Bye for now.